Okay, so this is my second video about how to work with blocks. So I want to show you how to make an actual device. So this is a device I made earlier. Very simple. All it is, it's got a little keyboard here. Doesn't do anything now, but there's an on-off toggle. And then when you toggle it on, it will just play that volume. And that's it. Very simple and off. I actually use this to help me sing at the right pitch for my island choir world, where I want to record my voice for a little choir thing that I'm building, and I just need this to make me sing in tune. So that's why this is such a simple thing. It's not really, I mean, you can use it as an instrument, but for helping you to sing in tune, it's quite useful. And it's very simple. So it is a device. So I have it in my devices. Once you make devices, you get an additional category here, my devices, and there's a couple of versions of it. This is the one, Simple Synth 3. And there we go, another one. Okay, delete that. If we open that up, it's actually just let's completely ungroup that. And press the wrong button again. And ungroup this one as well. Keep pressing the wrong button. Then you can see what's behind it. Yeah. So now I can take this, just take this off. That's just a box. See, nothing inside. Those devices don't actually hide anything in their boxes. All the stuff that actually makes them work is outside of the box. It's just hidden, as you can see. But I can unhide that, unhide selection, and now it's visible. Okay, so that's all there is. The box doesn't hide anything. There's nothing in the box. It's just so it makes it look like an actual device box that you can spawn somewhere. But actually all there is the controls on the outside. So when you make a device, you just want to make a box, put the controls on the outside, but all the inner workings of the device, you just build that somewhere else, away from the box, and later you can make all of that invisible. You just hide that, and you just keep these things visible so it looks like a device box. Okay, there you go. But let's look at the how this is actually made. So very simple. Actually, let's recreate that. So I go to my blocks. I explained in my last video how you get the blocks and some of the basics. I'm not going to repeat all of that now. So we want, first of all, we're going to need an output. So it's going to be out. Oops, not void. That will be a good one as well. Output. We need one of them. All right, look over there. There's one. The speaker. Remember, to make something make a noise, we need an output. We need something that makes a noise. So what we're going to do, if we go through audio, we can look for things that that make a noise. There's microphones here. There's all sorts of things that add an envelope, the bubble player, and the recorder. But there's this as well, an oscillator. Can make a sine wave or other sort of waveforms. So that sounds like something that could make a noise potentially, right? So remember, these are the stream cables, basically audio cable. Makes a noise. 220 hertz. Let's make a nice 440 A. Okay, so that's that. That works. Yeah, smallest unit that actually does some work, so that's good. Proof of principle achieved. We can make a noise with this. You can change the waveform. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I keep the sine wave. It's quite nice how they made that, the graphics. But yeah, you can change that. I'm not going to. We'll leave that. But what we definitely want to do is we want to change the frequency of the oscillator so that we can make different notes, because we want to really plug in keyboard. How do we do that? Actually, before we do that, let's put the other thing in, because the sounds really loud. Well, so loud, that's not great. So let's put the volume control in there first. How do we do that? Let's have interface. Let's have a slider. And now we're going to need something in the math category. We need to apply a multiplier. There's a multiply for jolt and a multiply for streams. We're going to do stream. So this is the input. If you hover over these things, you can see this is input. This is obviously the output. So, well, we know where that goes, right? That goes in there. Input here. Okay. And this, well, actually, before I do that, do you notice? Nothing's coming out of this. Why is that? Because what the multiplier does, it multiplies the incoming number by that number. As you can see, 0. Yeah. There's numbers coming through here all the time. Yeah. Because this keeps making a wave with 440 hertz. Keeps doing it. So numbers are coming through, but they're all multiplied by 0. Well, you know, everybody knows that much math, that anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So 0 is coming through, nothing is coming through, no signal. But these sliders here, they can give us a value. And let's go back to what we've learned last time. A readout is really useful now to figure out what they actually send. So what does this slider actually send? Okay, well, clearly it sends a value between 0 and 1. You can change that if you want, but we're not going to. I just wanted to show you that if you inspect it, you can change the values that that the slider sends, the minimum and maximum. But we're not going to do that, because perfectly happy with that, because all we need to do is plug that into this knob. And remember, if we put a jolt cable into one of these knobs, then the jolt value will set that value. Okay. See? And there we go. A volume. Simple as that. And the way it works is simply this sends 0.1 right now to that knob, yeah, which means, well, multiply the incoming sound wave with 0.1, so it's like divide by 10. So that reduces the volume, you know, the amplitude of the wave is reduced. In fact, if you want to see it, I bet you do. I can show you that's what happens, because remember from last time, there is a scope. Where's the scope? There's the scope. And let's duplicate that. So 2 of them. See the sound wave? And the multiplier. And see? You can see the effect very clearly. Effect on the amplitude of that sound wave. Right? Let's take that out. Where's the multiplier again? Oh, get rid of that. Don't want that. Just wanted to show you what that looks like. Okay, so multiplier goes in there. That's our volume control. That way we can also switch it off. So how did I do that then? How's that work? On-off toggle. It's really simple. Just get another one of these multipliers. Oop. Duplicate that. Plug that in. Ah, come on. Okay, so now I can switch. I can change the volume anything I like. Nothing's coming through. Why? Because I've got another multiplier set to 0 right now. Okay, so everything is 0. Nothing is coming through. Whatever is multiplied here, it just doesn't matter because this is 0. How do we turn that into an on-off switch? With a toggle. No. Interface, custom toggle. And hey, let's apply what we've learned. Readout. Get a readout. When you get a new block that you're not familiar with what it does, okay, clearly has an output. We can sort of guess what it does, but let's see it in action. See? Sends a 1 when it's pressed down, 0 otherwise. Well, that's great because you can just plug that into this other multiply. On. Simplest. How does it work? It's basically just another volume slider, but it goes from 1 to 0. The press of a button. So I could just as well keep that on. Once that is 0, then it's also off, basically, and then volume. But this is nicer because then I can keep it at a certain volume, just cut it off here, just multiplies, simple as that. So now the last thing I want is, I want to play different notes, right? Not just the same. So I'm going to need a keyboard. Yeah. What does that do? Deleted my friend readout. Should never do that. You should always have a readout around. So need to switch this off because this is the other mode is for picking up or changing the global scale. But this, you see, sends these values. These are MIDI note values. So that that's 60, that's the C here. That's actually the same number that we have here. So that because this number actually sets the note, that sort of bass note. Okay. So half note higher is +1, +1, +1. So that's obviously the pattern. Yeah. Okay. So it sends a value, but it's MIDI. So that doesn't work with this because this wants something in hertz, frequencies. I don't know if you can read that. Frequency in hertz. That's what it wants. Clearly 440 is the obviously an A. So we can't, I mean, if we plug that into that and switch it on, it works and it changes the frequency, but obviously not what we want because that's 67 hertz. That's very low. I don't know if you can even hear that. I can hear it, but yeah, it's very low. That's not what we want. We need to somehow convert. Oh my god, that old problem. We need to convert that MIDI note into a frequency. So obviously there's a calculation that you would have to do to convert a MIDI note into a frequency, but we don't have to do it because the devs have already given us this MIDI to frequency. And I just realized that I have spawned it as a Jolt version now, and in fact here I've used it as the stream. Doesn't even matter in this case. You can actually use both. So plug this in, and what comes out the other end is not going to be a MIDI note now. Look at that. And there we go. There's an A. 440. Hey, that works. Plug that in. And now yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. And we have our device. And yeah, just to show you again in the I'm sorry, in the original version that I made, I'd actually used the stream version of the MIDI to frequency converter. Because you can just as well plug in a stream cable into this, and you can plug in a Jolt into these knobs. So actually in this case, it doesn't matter. So, oh, I'm sorry. So I can actually just use either of them, doesn't matter. But it converts a MIDI value into hertz, and that completes our device. So then the last thing is we want to turn this into an actual device. So let's get rid of the stuff that we don't need. And so now we want to start arranging things a little bit. We want to make sure that all the elements that need to be on the outside of our device are together. And everything that is not on the outside that should be hidden, we select all of these, make sure that you've got them all, and then anywhere here you go hide selection. Select that as well, unhide that, unhide. Okay, so that looks about right. You can always check that by going to world, go to play mode. Yes, so all of these things that I don't want to be visible have now disappeared, and only the controls are still here. Go back to edit. Now I want to have a box. Yeah, let's put this in a box. So I just search for box. Oops, not box. Box. Device box. That's what I want. Spawn that. And I have a device box. Also useful at this point to have a there it goes, a ruler. So this helps us to arrange things a little bit. Plus, we're also going to have one more thing, and that's a visual thing, set material, just to make it look nice. So we put that somewhere there. From here, you draw one of those lines that connect objects. So it says you are responsible for this now to set the properties of this. And maybe we turn this into plastic. And actually, I quite like a bit of that sort of glassy look. It's quite nice. Anyway, do what you want. That's what I like. So lately my devices have started to all look like that. So now we make this grid a little bit bigger. And now we need to somehow, and this is the bit where it can get a little bit frustrating. We need to arrange these things, but you see it snaps to the grid. So that's a start. Put that here. We want to hide this from play. Make sure this is hidden, otherwise, so both of these things need to be hidden. And actually, we might want to make sure so that this gets hidden from play. So let's check again. Play mode. Yeah, only the things that I want visible are visible. Okay, so now I have a ruler. Everything else has been hidden. So, right, with this thing, one more thing I can do here, I can hide the inputs and outputs from play mode so that it doesn't look like there's the cables sticking out. So that's also quite nice. You don't have to do that, but quite nice. Right, so now we can arrange that. Gonna need to make the box bigger. Where's that? Yeah. Making it snap properly. And you see one problem here immediately that I haven't really solved yet. I don't really know how to properly do this. It's sort of half sunken in the in the surface now, and that's why it's flashing like this, which is not great. But yeah, for now this will do. I mean, yeah, this is how you can align these things. Let's actually removing that now, and with a very steady hand I will make this come out a little bit. Not great. So I can now also add labels to it, like for example this text, and just edit that and say volume. Oops. Volume. There we go. And then I'll probably want to have the size a little bit, like a little bit smaller, and like this maybe. and I don't want the background like that. And now I can put that, I don't know, put it somewhere here. So, oh, I've already taken away my grid, so now I have to do it like that. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's just for, just to show you what happens. Okay, so what we need to do now is turn it into a device. So just select all of that, make sure we have selected the whole lot, and inspect, turn into device. Now you give it a name, and then it gets saved under that name in your My Devices. I'm not going to do it because, unfortunately, at the moment there is no way to delete them. By the way, this has happened to me before, dear devs. This happens somehow when you save it as a device. Some of these controls go out of proportion. When you spawn a device later, it will be normal, but this happens somehow. Okay, I'm not going to save it because at the moment there is no functionality to actually take these things out again. So once you've created a device, you can see that I have many versions of some of these devices because I just had to make changes. And when you make changes, you can save it again. You can replace what you've got. But if you want to make a new version, you just want to keep the old one. It would be nice that later you could just go in and delete them, but you can't. So you can just spawn it, but it will be there forever. I hear from the devs that this is going to change, and we're going to get something like for your sounds, you have the ability to delete them. Apparently, we're going to get that for devices as well. But as long as we don't have that, I'm not going to save this as a new device because it would just pollute rather my devices section forever. And there you go. There's a complete device. Have fun with it.